I'm Payton Privitera here with Lily Chapman and Alex Mingolla at the walled-in city of Quebec up in Canada, and you're watching Payton Priv TV.
Subscribe.
Hi everybody and welcome back to another edition of Payton Priv TV. We're here on the first night of free agency, a special edition that we're going to call Replace Gate. We're going to talk specifically tonight about who's the best prospect to replace Tom Brady on the New England Patriots. I'm Phil Privitera here with the star of the show, Payton Privitera. How do you feel tonight, Payton?
I feel wonderful. We had a lot of big moves today on the first day of free agency. A lot of discussional questions to talk about. Who's going to be the next guy for New England? And it's going to be a great show. I'm full of energy.
So let's get it started. Okay, the early indications were that Marcus Mariota, who actually interviewed and met with the New England Patriots, could be a possible option, as well as Teddy Bridgewater. Those are the two early indications that we had.
Right. Now, you and I, when we would talk shop or listen to the television, we'd always say, hey, what about Mariota and what about Bridgewater? Mariota became available because Tennessee decided Tannehill's our guy. And Bridgewater became available because the Saints would never part ways with Drew Brees. After a day of free agency, we saw that Mariota has gone to the Las Vegas Raiders, and Teddy Bridgewater has now gone to the Carolina Panthers. So those two options are now off the table. Who else do you see as a possibility for New England to fill that gap at starting quarterback?
Okay, with those moves made, certain developments took place between yesterday and today. And specifically the fact that Nick Foles had been traded from Jacksonville to Chicago. This now opens up Mitch Trubisky, who was the number 2 pick in the 2017 draft. Mitch Trubisky, a very talented player, a great scrambler, and not for anything, he's got a great football name. Okay, now, also with the signing of Teddy Bridgewater, as you mentioned, in Carolina, the Panthers quarterback, Cam Newton, has more or less been instructed to go out and make his own trade deal. So he's also a very talented player, perhaps the most talented player out there. He's a fantastic scrambler, but some people might suggest that he's been such a proven commodity that maybe he's not so amenable to being coached, maybe not as coachable as some others, maybe set in his ways, might not be the best fit for New England and the Patriot way. What do you think?
I think both very good options. Mitch Trubisky's a great case for someone that Belichick would love to coach. I mean, he had a rough stint there in Chicago for his first couple of years, but that's not entirely his fault. He's a young player with talent. He had a tough wide receiver core to throw to. He had a tough offensive line protecting him. I think he's a player who just needs a little bit of love. If Belichick can coach him and develop him the right way, I think he can be a talent and a star in this league. And obviously, we know what we're getting with Cam Newton. He's a proven star. He's a veteran in this league. He's been here almost 10 years. He's been to a Super Bowl. You know what you're going to get, a good, solid, all-around, young, mobile quarterback.
I agree with you there. Cam Newton, definitely the most talented player out there, but Mitch Trubisky, perhaps the best fit for the New England Patriots. Now, we could also look to the draft, and in the draft, what I see is perhaps Shea Patterson, Michigan Wolverine, and Jalen Hurts, who played with the Oklahoma Sooners and then also played with Bama under Nick Saban, who, as we know, is a very close friend with Bill Belichick.
Right. Now, if you were to get either of these two guys, you'd have to, be very smart and strategic in the draft. We know Belichick is very good at doing that when it comes to drafting the potential next guy at quarterback while we still had Brady on the team. Patterson's a great fit. He's a guy coming out of the Wolverines, got a chip on his shoulder, amazing hard worker. And also you got Jalen Hurts, who a lot of people project is going to go in the 3rd round or later, saying that he's too small, too short for this league. I think his talent brings him above that. I think he's worth more than people are giving him credit for. Obviously played 2 years for Oklahoma, 2 years for Alabama. Belichick loves Nick Saban products, kids who come out of Alabama. I think both would be a great fit, but of those two, I think maybe Jalen Hurts would be the way to go.
And I agree with you there. The next group of quarterbacks that I want you to consider, I would call the reruns. This cast of character made up of 3 are players who have already had a chance to lead the show and be under center. And in some cases, Bill Belichick has already had a chance to see how they operate. And this group would include Jarrett Stidham, who is a backup quarterback currently with the New England Patriots, Jacoby Brissett, who was a backup quarterback with the New England Patriots, actually started for one game, played in, I believe, two that season, but started in one, did very well, and had a chance to be the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts until the Indianapolis Colts made that very big deal with Philip Rivers. So now Brissett is available. The final candidate would be Jameis Winston in this group, who is currently the quarterback for Tampa Bay, but anticipating that Brady will finalize this deal and go to Tampa Bay, Winston now becomes available. So in this group of three, okay, what do you think on this? Stidham, Brissett, and Jameis Winston.
All right, so we have three interesting cases here. Jarrett Stidham at the moment is the only quarterback on the New England Patriots payroll. We saw him, a play here and a play there through the 2019 season. He threw 2 completions off of 4 attempts, a pick 6, and only gained 14 passing yards. But he had a decent preseason before the year started, so I don't know what to expect. Maybe he's been working out a lot this summer. Maybe it'll work out, but from what we saw, might not be the best option. Jacoby Brissett is a kid I like, got a lot of raw talent. He would have been the future of this team if we weren't in dire need for a wide receiver when he was dished away. If you remember, Belichick traded him for wide receiver Philip Dorsett in the last week of the preseason about a year or two ago. But a lot of raw talent. He's got a strong throwing arm. He's got fast legs. He'd be a good fit here in New England. And Jameis Winston, I don't know if he'd be the right fit here. Right now, he's the man without a ship because Tampa Bay didn't want to re-sign him. A lot of people call him, the chef or the baker because all he does is create turnovers. He's the first player in history to ever have a 30-30 season. He threw for 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. I mean, I'm sure he's got a lot of raw talent. He got LASIK eye surgery this offseason, so maybe his vision will be better in terms of the fumbles and the interceptions. But I just don't think he'd be the right fit here for the New England Patriots.
And I agree with you there. I think the two former Patriot, or the two players who played as backup for the Patriots, it would be, if at all, a temporary solution, not a permanent solution. And I just don't see Winston. Turnovers just don't seem to fly here in New England. So now the last group of possible candidates that I want you to consider, I would suggest are the dark horses. Not for any derogatory reason, but just that I see it kind of unlikely. I'm not even sure if they're available. One would be Andy Dalton, who's a 3-time Pro Bowler with the Bengals. And he's not even available, but he will become available if and only if the Bengals are able to draft Joe Burrow, number 1 in the draft, as their quarterback. And the other one would be Derek Carr, who, again, dark horse, not for any other reason except that he just became available, if at all, because Vegas signed Mariota. Now, you don't know if the Mariota deal is going to work and everything's copacetic there, but he's potentially now available.
Right. Now, another two great athletes here. Andy Dalton, the signs have been pretty clear that Cincinnati's going to go after Joe Burrow, number 1 pick overall in the draft. So Andy Dalton then becomes either the veteran backup who's there to be a mentor, or he's just on the trading block. They're trying to dump him off. I think so. I don't know if New England is home, but you never know. Bill Belichick will make it work. He'll turn it into something successful and will win the AFC East. I think it'd be more probable that the Patriots would take Derek Carr over Andy Dalton, just because Derek Carr seems like he would fit into the system better. He seems like a little bit harder of a worker than Andy Dalton. And also, we don't know if Derek Carr would even become available. With the money Mariota's being paid, it would seem as though that's the case, that the Raiders are done with the Derek Carr experiment. But you never know. They could be trying to create some competition, make a quarterback controversy in the preseason. If so, Derek Carr would, be on the trading block. I think that wouldn't be a bad target for the Patriots to go after.
So all in all, who would you go with?
I like Jacoby Brissett as a part-time option, but if I were to make a decision and say, all right, this is my number 1 choice, I would probably say if you can put together a decent package where you don't give up too much capital, make a trade for Cam Newton, bring him in, have some nice star power, have a veteran in this league who knows how to take a team through the playoffs, and that would be the best way for the Patriots to set themselves up for success in the future.
And I agree with you there. I think Cam Newton would be the player who would keep them on top without that much of a turnover time, but I think that Mitch Trubisky might be the best chemistry. It might take a little bit of time to build his confidence and get him to where Bill Belichick wants him to be and how he wants him to perform. But I think Mitch Trubisky is my pick. So there you have it, folks. As always, time will tell. Thank you for watching. I'm Phil Privitera. This is Payton Privitera, and you're watching Payton Priv TV.